All right, let's have a real talk about personal branding and what it actually means today. I feel like the whole idea of creating this perfect polished version of yourself online is starting to feel, well, a little outdated, don't you think? We've all seen those profiles that look like they're curated, down to every pixel, bios feel like they're crafted by a PR team, and a style so consistent, it almost looks automated. And honestly, I think most people are getting tired of it. You know what? So today, let's chat about why this old school idea of personal brand is on its way out and what's coming next. I'm going to walk you through the shift that's happening, share some personal experiences, and give you ideas for building a brand that's not only perfect aesthetics or a carefully controlled image. The new approach is real, unfiltered authenticity, and it's about building a community. You know what? And trust me, it's a lot more fulfilling. The disconnect between personal brand and real connection. All right, let's get down to why this polished, perfect personal brand thing is feeling a little stale. If you really think about it, a lot of these personal brands don't even feel, well, personal. They're structured, controlled, and often feel more like mini corporations than anything authentic. People are waking up to the fact that perfection isn't relatable. In reality, we're all a bit messy, multifaceted, and have interests that shift over time. So trying to force ourselves into a tightly defined brand, it feels exhausting and honestly not real. You know, think about social media a few years ago. Everything was highly curated, polished, and often felt like a production. People had pristine Instagram feeds with every post fitting the same aesthetic. You know, and back then that worked. But now we're seeing a different side of social media, a place where people are hungry for realness. Authenticity has become a new goal because when people scroll through social media, they're not looking to be marketed to or sold an image. They're looking for a connection. They want to feel something real. And you know, I think that's why platforms like TikTok have exploded. It's one of the few places where people show up without needing a perfect script or filter, and people are responding to it. It's like, finally, here's a place where we're allowed to be, you know, a little messy, make mistakes, and show up as we are, moving beyond the old school brand. What's next? If personal branding in its old form is on its way out, what's taking its place? You know, here's the exciting part. It's all about showing up as your full, multidimensional, unfiltered self. This is the time to be unapologetically you. Instead of trying to nail a brand voice or aesthetic, focus on sharing who you are as a whole person. That means talking about your expertise, but also sharing your opinions, your quirks, and even the unpopular takes you might be a little bit hesitant to put out there. You know, there's something really freeing about this shift. I remember when I was starting Blakebill.com, you know, the platform where freelancers can transfer files and get paid instantly. I was thinking, you know, how do I go about this in a way that feels authentic to me? And you know, instead of coming up with a perfect brand message, I just started sharing what I was like building it. You know, the little wins, the late nights, the things I learned along the way, and even the mistakes I made. And that's when I noticed people connecting to the journey, just not the product. You know, this doesn't mean you need to air out every detail of your life or post random things without purpose. But showing up authentically with all different sides of you that make you, that's the key. You know, because people don't follow brands, they follow people. And the more you show up as yourself, the more people will connect with you on a real level. And you know, trust me, that's freeing. You don't have to fit every post into this brand. You just talk, share, and connect. The shift to community over follower count. Here's a big change. We're moving from follower count as a measure of success. And to be honest, the shift is long overdue. So think about it. Would you rather have 1 million followers who barely engage, or a tight-knit community of a few thousand people who genuinely care about what you're doing and are invested in your journey? It's kind of a no-brainer, right? Real connections beat vanity metrics every single time. You know, people want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than just following an account. They want to feel seen, heard, and like their voice matters. And as a creator or business owner, building a community also means you get a support system. The community cheers you on, provides you feedback, and grows on you. And grows with you too. It reminds me of something I learned earlier on with Blakebill. You know, so when I had launched, I wasn't aiming to build a follower account or become a known brand. Instead, I wanted to connect with freelancers who needed the reliable, you know, hassle-free way to get paid after delivering their work. And you know, I was honest about my journey, my small wins, the challenges, you know, even random thoughts I had about how to improve it. And that made people feel like they were a part of the story. And you know, suddenly it wasn't just a product, it was a real solution that solved a real problem for real people. The shift to community over followers made a massive difference. If you're starting a new project, think about building a community, not just gaining followers. Followers are just numbers on a screen, but a community, They're people who feel connected to you and your journey. And that connection is what lasts. The power of process over perfection. This is a big one. Let's talk about the process over the end result. A few years ago, the trend was to showcase the polished final product. Whether it was a successful launch, a big career milestone, or an incredible transformation. It was all about showing the highlight reel, the big moments that would make people think, whoa, look at that guy go. But now, people want to see the process, just not the end result. They want to know how you got there. They want to see the behind the scenes, the mistakes, the experiments, and even the stuff that didn't work out. They want to see the late nights, the pivots, and the moments when you weren't sure this would work. Because let's be real, nothing is ever as clean or as easy as it looks on social media. I found that sharing the journey with Blakebill has been huge. I didn't wait until everything was perfect, even if that exists, to start thinking about it. I shared the hiccups, the tweaks, and even the decisions that didn't turn out as expected. And you know what? People actually liked that. They appreciated the honesty, and it made them feel like they were part of the journey. And it turns out, authenticity and transparency can be way more engaging than perfection. The process is more often relatable than the end result. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone share their perfect curated life and thought, I could never do that? But when you see the process, the behind the scenes, it suddenly feels attainable. It's like, oh, they struggled too. They made mistakes too. That's relatable. And that's what people connect with. Letting go of control and showing up. Okay, and again, let's be real. One of the hardest things about this shift is letting go of control. When you're building an old school personal brand, you have full control. Every post, every caption, every story is carefully curated to create a specific perception of you. But when you let go and show up as your real self, that's a different kind of courage. It's uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to curating every aspect of your online presence. And I'll be honest, when I'm sharing stuff about Blakebill, it always felt risky. Letting go of control felt vulnerable. But here's the thing. People don't want a perfect image. They want real. When you show up as yourself, it actually makes your brand stronger because people are connecting with the person behind the brand, not just the product or the polished image. So here's the deal. Let go of fear of not being perfect. People aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for honesty, for people that they can relate to, and for authenticity in a world full of filters. This doesn't mean you need to overshare, but it means you don't have to fit into someone's branded box to make an impact. You're as good as you are, and people want to connect with that type of realness. And again, here's the thing. It's freeing. Letting go of control means you don't have to stress about every little detail. You can show up as you are, knowing that the people who resonate with your message, your story, and your journey will be there for you. Building trust, not just a following. Let's dig into one last thing that's often overlooked in the personal brand conversation: trust. When you're building a following, you're building numbers. But when you're building trust, you're building relationships. And here's a little secret. Trust is what turns a casual follower into a loyal supporter. Trust is what keeps people coming back, and it's what makes them want to invest in what you're doing. I realized this firsthand at Blakebill. A polished brand might attract a lot of attention, but a genuine brand builds trust. People can see through an image. They can tell when someone is just posting for the engagement versus when someone is posting to genuinely share something from the heart. When I talk about Blakebill, I'm not just trying to sell a product. I'm talking about the reality of freelancing. That's why I wanted to create a tool that solved this problem. Again, here's the thing. People trust people who are authentic. So the next time you're thinking about what to post or how to share your story, remember that your vulnerability and your authenticity are assets. They're not something to hide. They're what makes people connect with you. What's next for you? Okay, so let's wrap it up with this little takeaway. Forget about crafting the personal brand and focus on being real. Show up as you are, flaws and all. Share your journey, your thoughts, and let people in on the process. Connect with people, build a community, and let go of the pressure to have it all figured out. And hey, if you're a freelancer or a creative who wants that hassle-free way to get paid after delivering your work, check out Blakebill.com. It's one of those tools that just makes life so much easier, so you can focus on what really matters, doing the work you actually love. This brings us to the core of personal brand and what you should really be about. Not some perfected image or logo with a mission statement. A personal brand in its honest form is just you sharing your journey, what you're learning, and what you believe in. And that's the direction we're heading. More realness, more connection, less performance. Forget the personal brand, just be you. Build real connections, enjoy the journey. People are looking for authenticity, not perfection.